Wilder Show podcast. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Scott. That's Lauren.
Hello.
Hi there. How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Fair to partly cloudy today. Instagram, you can find us there. Just search Wilder Show Pod, and you'll find it. Also, email. We love that. Thanks. For the email, you just send email to podcast@wildershow.com. The Wilder Show podcast drops Tuesdays and Fridays, 6 a.m. Central Time on Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, iHeart, wherever you get your podcasts. So like, rate, follow, subscribe, and share. And thanks for being here. The President of the United States.
I knew which one you were talking about.
A couple of ones in the world, it turns out. But the President of China, his name is Xi, so it's not a she. I think I said to you off the air, I said, Trump is whatever I said. And
you said the president and she.
Yeah, President
and
Xi.
I said who?
Her. No, it's Xi, the president of China.
Yeah.
The president, our president, President Trump, and Xi on tariffs. Now, this won't be long, so don't immediately tune out about tariffs.
You know who you're talking to.
Don't worry. China says, yeah, no, we're not going to negotiate. Remember what I said about trying to back the Chinese into a corner and losing face, and how that's a bad idea, that they will go, to the wall on something rather than to lose face. Now, it appears that Xi is saying, and the other part of the story is Xi believes, it's so weird to say it that way.
I know.
She believes that President Trump will capitulate and will back off on his tariff threats.
Okay.
However, she may not really believe that. Might just be saying, look, we're not going to negotiate. So there was some talk, and the markets, up and down and up and down, and markets went back up when there was some report of, hey, China's back at the table, and China says, yeah, no, we're not back at the table. So it goes back and forth and back and forth. And I think about the story of the boy who cried wolf. He says wolf, and everybody, comes running, and he says wolf, and everybody comes running, and he cries wolf, and everybody comes running, and then at some point he cries wolf, and they go, nah.
When there really is a wolf there. Yeah.
So that is sort of applies to what we're talking about here. That President Trump saying, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do these things, and he doesn't, or I'm going to do them, and it becomes a negotiation. I'm going to do them, and it becomes a negotiation. At some point, people say, you know what? I think it's a negotiation. Now, it may not. Trump might say, no, we're keeping those tariffs at whatever they are. Anyway, all this leads to saying this. It's not July 20th yet.
Right.
Okay. We said July 20th. That's when we're going to reevaluate everything and take a look at it and see where we are at that time. But don't overly freak out. It's going to be okay. I really believe it's going to be okay. The Department of Defense has had to back off on something that Pete Hegseth said, hey, we're not doing that anymore. And it is a transgender care for the military.
Okay.
Because a court said that it's unconstitutional to withhold that care for people who are transgender.
Okay.
It's going to be challenged in court. It's going to go back and forth and back and forth. But as of this moment, the Biden policy of doing this is back in place.
Okay.
It is kind of interesting, though, that for a long time we never did it.
Right.
And it wasn't like people were fighting to get it in. Hey, it'd be unconstitutional if you don't do this. And then Biden just decided to do it, and then now removing it, that was never lobbied to be in there in the first place, is, according to this one court or judge, unconstitutional. So we'll see, where it goes. But that is where we are as of this moment. We also should say, we talked about the Pope passing.
We did.
And you're watching all this, the machinations and the getting ready for, and the funeral is tomorrow, and in fact is in less than 24 hours. As this podcast drops, it will already be underway. So it's 10 a.m. Vatican time, which is 4 a.m. Eastern time, which is 3 a.m. Central time, if you want to watch the funeral.
Right.
But it's a big deal. The president's going to be there. President, prime ministers, and kings, I mean, they're going to be there for the event. Makes me a little nervous from a security standpoint. I mean, all these people with their own security coming in, and they're going to defer, to the Vatican or to that leadership. And is that a good idea? I mean, if they're, to be the best good guy preparing for bad guys is to think like a bad guy. If you want to find out where the best place is to, I don't know, put exterior lights at your house, or where to put the motion sensors in the house, you have to think like someone who might want to access.
If I was a bad guy, where would I try to get in?
Yeah, exactly. You or your house, your loved ones, or your stuff. So you have to think a little bit like a bad guy to think about the security. You know that our best guys are thinking like bad guys, but they're on our payroll.
Right.
And they're trying to make sure it doesn't happen. They prevent, disaster and mayhem and all that. So I don't know. I mean, it's I think a lot of news will probably not be made in that way, Lord willing. We're prayerful, obviously, always.
Sure.
That nothing like that happens. But there are lots of bad guys. There are lots of bad guys that hate Christians in that part of the world. Catholics, democracy, freedom. So we'll be watching to see what goes on there. But hopefully they'll all be in their big old jets going back to their seats of power without any nonsense going on.
Yeah, hopefully.
And then we wait for the next the number of days until the effort begins in chief to get the next pope. Pope Francis was instrumental in who are these cardinals that will be part of the conclave. And he has a worldview that is a little bit more progressive on some things. Not pro-life, I'll say that. He is, as is the tradition.
Not progressive on pro-life.
That's what I meant to say.
Not pro-life.
Oh,
he is
no.
pro-life.
No, I'm sorry. He wasn't progressive. He was on progressive on many things, but not progressive on pro-life. Very conservative on pro-life, which I appreciate. But on other things, more progressive, a little more liberal. And the people that he has put there, that he did put there, that were elevated during his time, in his 13 years or whatever it was as Pope, were people that reflected his sort of worldview. And that's okay. But in theory, the way these men will decide who will be the next Pope is they will go to the conclave. They don't really physically lock themselves in, but they do sort of. They stay there ensconced, and they seek the leading of the Holy Spirit. But if those people are all inclined to do it another way, if you want to be sort of crass about it, you'd say, well, what if they just all decided we're going to keep going in this direction? And, the Holy Spirit told us to. You see what I'm saying?
I do.
I don't want to say it's not, the Holy Spirit's not involved. But I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that because the Holy Spirit's work sort of is filtered through fallible men. Fallible men and women who have our own perspectives and our own ideas about, we don't want to, for example, we don't want to go back to an all Latin Mass. It will never happen. They're not going to go, well, we'll see. You're shaking your head like never say never. But I don't believe it would happen. I can't imagine going back, Catholic Church going back to having Mass being done in Latin, which I always found it confusing, as did all the people in the service, because with rarest exception, they didn't speak the language.
Right.
Am I right about that?
You mean if it's in Latin?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's 100% right.
So I don't really know. The power is in the hearing and the understanding of what's being in the homily or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was a very good. I didn't see that as a tremendously liberal thing, although maybe in the Catholic Church it is a liberal thing.
I think there are always people who want things to stay just the way they are.
Just because.
And then a whole lot of people, once they change, there are those same people who just wish it would go back to the way that it was before. But one thing I was going to ask you, except for the Holy Spirit part, is that really that different from a president choosing who's going to be on the Supreme Court?
No. No, I don't think it is, except that it should be different, obviously. I mean, the president putting someone in the Supreme Court, there's no even pretend deference to some higher power guiding that decision.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
It is truly just my worldview. I'm a conservative. You elected me to be the conservative leader. Here is you.
So are you saying you think the Pope might have chosen all of those, all of the cardinals, because he wanted it to go a certain way when he died, or because he wanted things to, he saw in them men who were going to run things, for lack of a better word, the way he saw fit for the church through what he believes it was the guidance of the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, obviously it's complicated.
Yeah.
Yes, I do think that. I think that people surround themselves with people that agree with them and will, if a pastor wants to, build a new building, he has the building committee. The building committee makes a representation or a recommendation to the deacons, and the deacons then bring it to the pastor, gets the endorsement because he already agreed with it, to go to the church. And it's one of those things, all in favor say aye, all opposed, there is no opposition. I mean, it's like there is no opposition. We quickly move on. It becomes sort of rubber stampy. And that's why it's so important at the early stages, whether it's in a committee or a committee on committees or the deacon body or whoever, to be independent so that those decisions don't even have the appearance of being a rubber stamp. But yeah, I think that Pope Francis obviously didn't know he would live forever or knew he would not live forever.
Right.
And knew that he had a direction that he felt led, whatever, that the church should go in regarding what? Regarding climate, regarding immigration, regarding LGBT. He believed it should go in a certain direction. He took it in that direction, didn't take it in that direction for the life issue, for which I'm grateful. But yes, I believe that he would expect that the people that he brought in would be led by the Holy Spirit to continue it in the direction that he feels it should go. Yeah, I think so.
I'm with you on that. I think I had jumped ahead, though. I didn't think that you were saying he chose those people just so that when he died, somebody else just like him would then be in charge. I mean, he thought that they were going to do some good along the way, right?
Yeah, well, yes, but we know that the next pope will come from that group.
Yeah.
So if you have 80% of the people in that group, or whatever the percentage is, are sort of your people, the other people will decide, they'll cast their ballots for who that person is going to be. Now, again, the wild card in the whole thing, maybe the only time the Holy Spirit's been called a wild card, but the wild card in the whole thing is the Holy Spirit. I saw a Catholic scholar saying the news person was trying to imply, look, it's going to rubber stamp. They're going to put somebody in just like Francis or in the same area and keep pushing it further in that direction. And this Catholic scholar said, well, you're leaving out that they are really supposed to be there seeking the guidance of the Holy Spirit. And yeah, yes. How do you know? I mean,
first of all, we have talked about this off air. You did not see Conclave.
I didn't. I know a little bit about it.
The most I know about this is from having seen Conclave. And I can't tell you, it wasn't a bunch of cardinals who were just in lockstep with the previous pope.
The movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how. I've heard people say that's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
And, I don't know. How do we fix it? Do we say you can't be led by the Holy Spirit anymore? Now you have to choose this many cardinals who have beliefs that differ with your own by 30%, and then you've got to choose another group.
Yeah, I can't do that, obviously. All I would say is of the 135 cardinals that are eligible to vote in the conclave, Pope Francis appointed 108 of them. 108 of the 135. So that represents about 80% of the voting cardinals. So I think the other ones were appointed by, previous popes, primarily, JP2 and Benedict the 16th or something like that. Anyway, so 80% of those, it will be deciding in what direction, because that really is what the vote is. The vote is not as much who will be the pope as it is in which direction will the church, who will guide the direction, and in what direction will it be guided in the future. And 80% of those voting were put in place by Pope Francis. So we'll watch with great interest. I mean, it's a big news event. So tomorrow is the funeral, and then let the games begin, but let the conclave begin. Sometime after that, there's a rule. I think it's some number of days after the funeral, and is it 4 more after that?
15 to 20, is that what I saw? The conclave usually begins 15 to 20 days after the Pope dies.
Wow, so it's going to be in the news a while. Yeah. And in those, that's interesting. I wonder why wait so long.
It says it gives them time to hold the funeral ceremonies and allow cardinals to travel to Rome. A lot of them are already nearby, but others come from all over the world.
Yeah, of course. Okay, very interesting. I think it's interesting. It's and at some point we will talk about Malachi. It was St. Malachi's prophecies, or was it prophecies? The prophecies of St. Malachi?
I guess so.
Or the foretelling, or whatnot.
Yeah, I don't know.
You can't say foretelling, but the guess. It wasn't guesses, right?
It was something that was a little more official sounding than that. The guesses of Malachi. The guesses of Nostradamus.
The inspired speculations of Scott Wilder.
Maybe inspired. Some were, some weren't.
Vladimir Putin has done what he does. A massive attack on Ukraine. And Donald Trump did something that most people say, well, he won't, the president won't do this. He's in the pocket of Vladimir Putin. And Vladimir Putin did what he does. There were 70 missiles, 145 drones that he sent toward Ukraine, mainly targeting Kiev, mainly targeting Kiev. At least 8 people were killed in the bombardment, including children. Emergency services said it struck 13 locations in Kiev, including residential buildings and civilian infrastructure, the costliest attack on the city since July 2024, when 33 people were killed in an aerial barrage that targeted a hospital and residential districts. And on yesterday, I guess. Yesterday, President Trump wrote, this is how we knew he was not happy. Here's what he wrote in social media. I am not happy with Russian strikes on Kiev. Not necessary and very bad timing. Vladimir, stop. 5,000 soldiers a week are dying. Let's get the peace deal done. All caps. Told you he's looking for the Nobel Peace Prize. Anyway, so people say that, President Trump will never say anything bad about Vladimir Putin. He did. I don't think it really matters that much either way. But he did at least come out and say something.
Called him out.
Did something. Yeah. Said stop. That's something. And it is time for Scattershoot. Wilder Show, Scattershoot. It's like a collect-all. It's like a menagerie of stories. It's like, it's like your grandma's, when you're growing up, your grandma had a shelf of a bunch of porcelain stuff.
Yeah, the Hummels.
It's like that, but just as dust-covered, but not as interesting and not as valuable.
Oh, man.
So other than that, it's exactly like Nana's Hummel collection. I have a dog story.
You've set the bar very low for us.
I know. Well, that's okay. That way you exceed it.
Start with the dog story.
I also a dog story. There you go. Make everybody happy. The dog-human bond. This makes my head explode. It really does.
I think I know. I think I might have seen this too.
Mm-hmm.
I decided not to do it though because I just couldn't stand for you to be
Right.
this upset.
I'm
But
sure.
go ahead.
There's only one relationship that offers comparable benefits.
I know what it is.
To most people.
Mm-hmm.
Most people. I think I know which most people this applies to. But there's only one relationship that offers comparable benefits that are offered by the dog/human bond. She's raising her hand. I'll call her now.
I know what it is.
Yes, Lauren.
It's your children.
Only the parent-child relationship offers as much satisfaction. But did you read further? I know that you rallied and gleed in the headlines, but did you read?
I didn't read any further.
Let me,
Well, like I told you, I saw the headline and I said, no, he's not going to want to hear me do that. So I didn't even go. I didn't even go any further. I didn't even read it. I didn't even consider it.
I didn't consider it because I knew it was true.
That's not what I said. I knew it was going to make you as
No,
bitter as you are right now.
It's bitter. I'm not bitter. There are three factors.
Okay.
That come to bring the dog-human bond as high as it is. Mm-hmm. And I have a thought about it at the end, as you might imagine.
Okay.
So many opinions at the end of it. There are three factors, though.
All right.
And these make complete sense to me. Mm-hmm. Number one, high companionship.
Yeah.
That's number one. Mm-hmm. Number two, opportunities for caregiving.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And number three, minimal conflict.
Well, they can't talk.
Those are the three.
Yeah.
So high companionship.
I mean, most can't.
Opportunities for caregiving, like all the things you do for them.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
What would they be if you didn't do all these things for them, right?
Well, no, I mean you're coloring it a little bit. I mean, if you are a person who likes to nurture,
right.
if you consider yourself a nurturer,
even,
a caregiver,
yeah, mm-hmm.
then it yeah.
But even if you don't consider
opportunities
yourself that, you have to do it because the dog won't eat if you don't feed the dog. So
yeah, but I think what I heard you saying was, it gives. The value that it gives you,
mm-hmm,
like who
mm-hmm,
would they be without
mm-hmm,
me? They
mm-hmm.
couldn't even tie their shoes if it weren't for
right,
me. They
right.
couldn't even feed themselves if it weren't
right.
for me, which kind of like then makes me stand a little bit taller. And
right.
that's not the way I think
okay,
of this.
These are the
at
factors
all.
that make for the people that decide dog human is my favorite relationship,
mm-hmm.
because what it gives the human gets high companionship.
Uh-huh.
The human has opportunities for caregiving, and the human is not confronted by conflict from the other part of the bond, which in this case is an animal who can't talk.
Right. Most of the time.
Well, most can't talk. People like to feel needed.
Yeah.
And if you're doing something for, in this case, a dog
mm-hmm.
who really, they can't do anything without, And so it gives you a great sense of purpose, and you're buoyed by your specialness in caring for, in this case, the dog. And all I would say is I check 2 of these 3 boxes.
Needy?
Can I go back over them? High companionship. I can do that.
Uh-huh.
High companionship. I will be there. High companionship.
Mm-hmm.
Scott. Mm-hmm. High companionship.
Okay, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Number 2, the opportunity to be cared for by someone else. If it makes it closer to a dog-like mm-hmm. relationship, I will do nothing. Because I know that's really what is most important, is to give the other person the opportunity to do really almost, if I didn't do this, where would he be? If I didn't do this for him, what would happen to him?
Yeah.
So again, just to review, high companionship, mm-hmm. I can do. Mm-hmm. I can do high companionship as well as any dog. Mm-hmm. Number 2, opportunities for caregiving. I can be as needy as any dog.
And what's that third one again?
Well, that's where it gets a little hung up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Minimal conflict. So
See, there's something for you to work on.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not saying, I can conquer it all, but I just noticed those three things. I thought, I was reading the articles and like a news article, and I was just reading. I mean, reading like this with my glasses on. Document bond 3 factors that are important to high companionship. No big deal. I got that. Opportunities for caregiving. That's easy. Minimal conflict.
Doggone it.
Minimal conflict.
Take off your hat for just a second. Take off your hat. See if you've got your recession blonde going.
Oh, recession blonde? I don't know. What is that?
Have you heard of recession blonde?
No, what is that?
Sometimes it's recession brunette. It's the hair color you get when the cost of living has you nervous about your high cost hair coloring.
So do you mean it's the natural color of someone's hair?
Or ish, maybe a little bit closer to your natural color, a little less maintenance, maybe a little lower maintenance.
Okay.
Now, in my case, it's recession gray.
No way. No.
Well, absolutely, yes. But more and more people, women predominantly, embracing recession blonde and recession brunette.
But what does that mean? I mean, aren't they still, if they were naturally a blonde, you're saying that they would be blonde, or is it just cheaper to become a blonde?
No, a recession blonde might not be as blonde as non-recession blonde.
I see. So you might go less frequently.
Yeah, less frequently, and maybe have a little less of it done.
A treatment.
Fancy highlights can run you upwards of $400.
Are you kidding?
I'm not kidding.
I don't know anything about obviously any of this stuff.
I've never paid anything close to that, but it can cost you. And my hair is not as long. It depends on how long your hair is, how much you're having done. You can pay that like every 4 to 6 weeks.
No way.
So if somebody wants to pay less, that might be they're a little bit less blonde.
All right, makes sense.
A little bit, or maybe they let the roots grow out for a little bit longer. I let mine grow out.
You see mine.
That's what yeah. So that's there's your recession brunette or recession blonde.
In my case, it's just gray.
It is.
Or silver,
but
actually.
But I mean, that low maintenance.
It is low maintenance.
Add that to the list of things you have going for you. Low maintenance, that's really good. High conflict, low maintenance.
Put that part of my CV. I can put it in my resume.
Very good.
High companionship check. I'll produce a low maintenance hair check. I don't shed either.
You do.
And you know what else?
What?
I don't shed, and if you get me wet in a rainstorm, I don't
smell bad at all.
Not at all.
Very good.
I smell good, actually. Conflict's still a problem, though.
Okay. We talk a lot here about how to improve our lives cognitively, especially into our later years. I thought this was so interesting. Another way that you can improve your life cognitively is not just listening to music, but making music. Even if you've never played an instrument before. I think, we talk about how young kids, I tried to learn how to play the piano when I was like 15 years old. I made it through 1 year. I didn't practice very much.
Really?
A lot of this was on me. I did one recital. And I was with a whole bunch of kids who were way younger than I was. I did terribly.
They were tearing it up.
So poorly. Yeah. They were great. I did terribly. I sat down next to my mom and she said, "You don't ever have to do this again." It was just not, and I always kind of blamed it on having started later. Little kids can pick things up so easily when they're small, whether it's a language or what I thought, a musical instrument. But somebody in their later years, even someone who has already started to show signs of
cognitive
dementia,
problems,
of cognitive issues, can start to learn how to play an instrument and show signs of improvement.
So you are talking about learning to play, not just going over to a piano and beginning to bang on it. You're talking about at 80 or 75 or whatever age to learn how to play an instrument that would help them cognitively.
Learning how to play an instrument, part of it is because playing music works multiple areas of your brain at the same time. They called it a full body workout for the brain. And I guess, if you already know how to play, that would still do the same thing. But if it's never too late to start to do that, to try, which I love. I love. Yeah. I'm going to go buy a guitar later.
Snipers, helicopters, and koalas. Snipers, helicopters, and koalas.
This is all one story?
It is.
Okay.
Snipers, helicopters, and koalas. I feel like the old Johnny Carson days where it's an envelope he holds it to. Snipers, helicopters. Those appear not to have much in common. However, in Australia, they do.
Okay.
The killing of many koalas by snipers from helicopters.
Are they meaning to kill the koalas?
Yes.
Are they
on purpose?
Are there like way too many koalas?
Yes.
Wow.
So the koalas are sitting there looking for eucalyptus.
Still kind of makes me feel bad.
They call it culling. Australia has culled hundreds of koalas after a wildfire.
How do they decide which ones to kill?
First name. They go by the first name of the koala. No. Australia,
like alphabetically or something like that?
What happened was there was a massive wildfire at a national park. And the wildfire destroyed 5,400 acres of the Budj Bin National Park. It's good for the koalas to, kill them.
To be culled?
To be culled. And part of the reason is it's easier to get to where they are with helicopters. They have snipers in helicopters culling the koalas.
What a terrible job.
I know. And that's something.
I guess. Maybe it's not. Maybe if that's what you're trained to do, it's okay.
Up to 750 koalas have been fatally shot by helicopter snipers in Australian state of Victoria over the past month.
So
it's planned culling after the wildfire.
So did the wildfires kill a lot of the eucalyptus that the koalas would eat, and then there wasn't enough for them all to eat? And man,
well, it's the same thing we read from your sports journal many years ago that the deer hunter is in many ways the best friend of the deer. Yeah. I mean, except for the one that he actually kills. Or she. But because the culling is important. You can't have too many of these out there, or they'll all starve to death.
Right.
So you got to figure out that we have to cull about 750 koalas. This is sort of an animal good news, bad news segment. It's bad news for the 750, but it's good news for the other ones that survive. Okay. There's enough then for them to eat.
For them to eat.
And it'll all grow back. It'll be okay. It's all the circle of life. Yeah. It's okay. I mean, it's nice. It's sad. A little.
It's okay. Like you said, if you're not one of the 750 koalas. Or their moms.
Aw. Don't they get high when they eat the eucalyptus?
Do they?
Yeah, I think so. Or maybe I think the pandas. The pandas.
I don't know.
Somebody gets high when they eat something.
I don't know.
Actually, that's a broad category.
When was the last time you were at Starbucks? Do you go there a lot?
I don't go there a latte. But
well, let me tell you something that I noticed.
I like the flat white. I'm not a latte guy.
Yeah,
the flat white is good.
Yeah, that's a good cup of coffee.
Yeah, it's a good cup of coffee.
I had noticed in a few of my neighborhood Starbucks, there were a few of them that had reached the age where it was time for them to be remodeled. And I noticed a change when they reopened. The one in particular had kind of moved back to the style it had been many years ago.
What is that style?
The overstuffed chairs, the comfortable.
Come in and
stay for a little while. Be a part of our like a neighborhood coffee shop. I think a while back I'd kind of noticed that in a lot of areas that had changed. And they
to move you out.
Yeah, they didn't seem to be designed as much for you to stick around and stay. But then I read something about how this is actually an initiative by Starbucks. Yeah, to bring people back into the coffee shop.
Is that because that other people have done this and gotten them? There's no place to sit at the Dutch Brothers, is there?
No,
that's kind of a drive-through.
I think those might all be drive-through.
And I know the other
might be a different, a different crowd too.
But I like the White Rock Coffee. I like that place. Yeah. A lot they want you to come in and sit.
They do. They do. Yeah.
But so they want to get Starbucks is trying to get people to come back.
Trying to get,
do they have some sense that the flat white, when it used to be $4 and now it's $6.50?
Maybe that's why people aren't coming in as much.
It's not that I'm not staying.
Yeah.
I'm not coming.
Well, yeah.
Is that part of their plan, or what is their plan?
No, I don't think so.
What is their plan, the grand plan to bring us back?
They brought the mugs back. So if
I
you
like the
go
mugs.
in, not the mugs that are for sale, but I mean, if you're going to stay there, you
like
can now drink your coffee out of an actual mug. They
Had
got
that
rid
gone
of those
away for a while?
It had gone away. That might have actually been a
Really?
COVID thing when
That makes
everything
sense.
was paper
take your
again.
own
But
thing
they
and
brought the
leave.
mugs back, and if you're just running in to grab your coffee and you do have a paper cup, you'll usually notice that you have like maybe a little doodle on your cup. It used to be that they would take your order
Put your
and they'd
name on it
ask
or
for
whatever.
your name.
Yeah.
And they for a long time they wrote your name on it. Now it has like a little
Sticker.
a sticker. That might just be because I have the app,
Oh,
so
okay.
you can see what my name is
Okay.
right away. But it's a company-wide initiative to add something personalized to the cup of every person who comes in. A little smiley face, a little encouraging
Okay.
word. But the thing that I saw had, like in some places, customers were getting these really elaborate drawings,
Really?
fire-breathing dragons, the little trees, like fruit trees that would go
How
all
do they
the
have
way
time
up
to
the
do all
side.
that?
Well, that's. I mean, it seems like you might not have time to do all that, especially during busier times.
Yeah.
And also, I kind of wondered,
that
is the
bring
fact that
people
it's
back? I mean,
mandated? Is that? I mean, if somebody's
not
going to
kindness,
write me
yeah.
a nice little note, I want it to be because they're really thinking about me and they really have something nice to say. Which can I really expect that from a barista who doesn't really even know me?
No, you go girl or whatever. But I
Yeah.
mean, even though it's mandated, we like it at Chick-fil-A when they say "my pleasure." That's
we
mandated.
do. Yeah,
But I think
that's not
maybe
as
they fake it till they
personalized,
make
though, right?
it. But I mean,
Yeah.
it's like you go girl, or they write things like that on your cup.
Well, they're supposed to. And so when I went to Starbucks the other day and there was nothing written on my cup, even though I wasn't sure how I felt about it to begin with, I felt kind of slighted when there was nothing written written on my cup. Like, do they not like me? It wasn't particularly crowded. Seems like there was time to write "You Go Girl" on my cup.
It's not crowded. Lauren gets her cup and holds it and goes, "Hey, what's this? What's the?
Where's
right
my
here.
doodle?
Where's my? Give me that Sharpie."
I'll write my own.
All right, wildershow.com is where you find us online. Instagram, you can search for us at Instagram and simply put in Wilder Show Pod, and you'll find us. If you want to email us, that's easy. Email is podcast@wildershow.com. And the Wilder Show podcast drops on Tuesdays and Fridays at 6 a.m. Central on Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeart, Amazon, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Like, rate, follow, subscribe, and share. And we will see you again next time. We have no outtakes, so
Oh, bummer.
usually it's confusion that results in the outtakes.
There was one thing I was going to mention when you talked about, the dogs only dogs only second only to our children. Don't even get me started on my kids' dogs.
That's true. So that supersedes the spouse.
I mean, I guess if there is a spouse, man, I don't know.
If it was,
Well,
it's-
yeah, I mean, I think, listen
like-
though, but that's such
Tired
you
head.
can't use any of this. This lady that I was
stop right
talking,
now. I'll stop right now. Hold
okay.
on. Let me just say one more thing real quick. I have stopped.
This lady.
Da 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 Da-da-da.